You're listening to the WBT Podcast with Michael Lodge. Listen to all of our podcasts at www.wbtpod.com. Stay informed. Let's get started.
This is brought to you by Lodge & Co., a business and tax advisory firm where your success is our goal. Call us today toll-free at 888-681-1518 or visit us at www.lodge-co.com and learn more about what we can do for you. Lodge & Co., your source for sound business and tax services.
And welcome to another podcast of the WBT. This is Michael Lodge. It is going to be, I don't know where you're located at, but right now I'm recording this in South Carolina, in Greenville, South Carolina, and it's going to be probably about 99 with about 67% humidity. I went out to tend my garden this morning, and I tell you, I am already sweaty. I mean, it is so hot and so humid out there. You can just feel it in the air when you go outside. And the mosquitoes are really bad, which means I'm going to have to spray down the property once again. Sprayed it down once 2 weeks ago and have had no problem with bugs. But once the rain and the heat come out, I tell you, it gets really, really bad. So I want to talk this morning about one aspect of business, and that is when you're hiring independent contractors. I went through the same experience in the last couple of weeks when an independent contractor would not sign an independent contractor's agreement. And usually when people don't want to do that, nor did he want to submit a W-9, and he didn't want to sign our code of ethics and everything else that we have designed for our tax preparation firm. Usually when people do that, it usually is telling you another sign that they are not altogether honest. They're not willing to protect you as a business. And when you have people that bring that up automatically, walk the other way, don't even hire them, don't even sign anything with them because you can't trust them. I'm telling you this from experience, okay? So when you hire an independent contractor, there are several things that you need to think about, okay? Hiring an independent contractor is different from hiring an employee. Totally different. There's less paperwork involved because you don't have to set up payroll taxes, income taxes, and FICA taxes, but you must still verify the person's tax ID and make sure the person is qualified for the job and is dependable and of good reputation and good standing within the community. You may also want to make sure the contractor doesn't disclose important company information or leave the company and take customers or employees. You have to protect yourself in that. And usually when they don't want to sign an independent contractor, that's exactly what they're going to do. If they don't want to sign an agreement, that's exactly what they're going to do. An independent contractor may be one or more people who are in a separate business from yours. This includes freelancers like artists, planners, or web designers, or outside company doing cleaning work, for example. A professional such as as an attorney or tax preparer, anyone you are paying for services and who is not an employee. And you have to make sure that within your independent contractor it states specifically that they are not an employee and taxes are their responsibility. So the first document that you need to get from an independent contractor is a form called a W-9. W-9. The most important thing to keep in mind when hiring outside workers is that you must document your payments to them. If you pay anyone, with only a few exceptions, $600 or more in a year, you must provide this person or company with a Form W-9, which includes the contractor's taxpayer identification number, the name, the address, and you must have a W-9 on file for each independent contractor so that you don't have to withhold income taxes from that individual. Then you have the information to create a 1099-MISC at the end of the year for that person, for the tax year in which they worked for you. Excuse me. And that's kind of similar to a W-2 form for employees. But the W-9 tells you what you need to do, what their tax identification number is, what their name and address is, if they are an S Corp, a C Corp, an LLC, or a sole proprietorship. And then that gets reported. All the income gets reported on the 1099 MISC for that person. It's very, very simple. There may be an income tax withholding form required by your state, so you have to look into that. What states do require that? Document number 2. You should have on file an application, a resume, or documentation of qualifications. Like, we have to keep all their licenses and all their continuing education requirements. We have to keep that in their file at all years, or up on the wall by the state of California rules. Before you hire anyone, you should request and keep a copy of documents showing the qualifications of the person for the work being done, or that you've assigned them to do. If you ask the person to complete an application form, it should be with the understanding that the application is not for employment as an employee. I tell you, I always get a resume from them, and copies of their licenses and their driver's license and everything else. It's better to get a detailed resume from the person, including education and their previous work history, just like you would on a normal employee. And normally, independent contractors has a whole package already ready for you when they come to work for you. It's really a good idea to ask for their previous consulting references. Okay, whatever firms that they've worked for as a consultant or as an independent contractor, ask for references from previous contracts. And also employers, if they've worked for anybody, and work-related individuals who know this person. The person's pastor or brother-in-law is not a good reference. That's not acceptable. So get that out of your mind. You may want to do a background check on this person. Now, we do E-Verify just to make sure that employees and contractors are legal to work in the United States, as long as you require all contractors to have a background check. If the person is doing confidential financial and other critical work, you should also do a background check and get references. Especially in our tax business, we have to be very, very careful about who we contract with and who we hire. Confidentiality of a tax firm is very, very it's very concerning to us, because not only do we have to answer to the Internal Revenue Service on client data information, but we also have to answer to the FTC, the Federal Trade Commission, because tax preparers are under the same classification as banks that keep and hold client data for a long time. And we have to have a whole program in place so that we have that under protection, and that the independent contractors have to comply to. If they refuse to comply to it, get rid of them very quickly, because you are going to be at risk. Document number 3, and this is the most important of all, is a written contract. For every independent contractor who works for your company, you should have a copy of a contract on file, signed by both parties. It may sound like overkill to require you to have a contract for each independent contractor relationship that you enter into, but there are some agreements that need to be put in writing. The contract protects both of you. It really protects both of you in the event of a dispute. Some issues that need to be addressed in the contract and some terms that need to be included are the scope of work, including when the job is to be done and deadlines, amounts of and timing of payments, when payments are due, what happens if payments are not made, and who owns the work, the contractor or the hiring company. The most important part of the contract should be a statement that the person is an independent contractor and not an employee, as I said before. You may also want additional agreements in place. Depending on the type of work being done and the sensitivity of the company information, you may want to get 2 other agreements, a confidentiality or non-disclosure agreement and a non-compete agreement. While these documents aren't required by any government agency, they might be a good thing to consider based on the type of business and the type of independent contractor you hire. The confidentiality agreement requires the contract worker to keep confidential any information from about the company or your clients that could be harmful to you if it was disclosed. A non-compete agreement sets out the restrictions of the contract worker from leaving your company and taking your customers or clients to another company. It happens often that an independent contractor will work for an employer for a while to gain skills and experience and then quit, go down the street and take some of the employer's customers along with them. I've seen it happen before. I've seen it happen with me, with my firm, and we have to put a stop to it very quickly. To prevent this from happening, many employers of independent contractors require a non-compete agreement. I have it written right within my independent contractors agreement. A non-compete restricts the ability of a former employer or contractor from owning or competing business within a certain area or a certain time after leaving the employer and from doing work that competes directly with the former owner. Keeping records on contract workers, you as a business owner are not required to turn over these documents to anyone. But if you are ever audited by the Internal Revenue Service or by your state, or you need to verify the relationship, you will need to produce them. Create a file for each independent contractor you hire with all the documents that you have. Remember what I've told you so many times before? Document, document, document. And if that independent contractor refuses to sign any of the documents to protect your company, don't do business with them. You can't trust them. And that is the biggest issue, is that if they're unwilling to protect you as their client, then there's something wrong. There's something devilishly wrong, and they're probably going to do something. I mean, I hate to say that, but I've seen it happen so many times, not only with my clients, but also with myself. It had to happen to me within the last 2 weeks where an independent contractor would not sign. Had to end our relationship. No matter how good he was, no matter how good she was. Had to let him go. Had to cut the ties. Had to stand my ground and say it had to be done. You have to follow within our rules in order to work within our firm. I, as an employer, and you as an employer, or as a contracting individual with these independent contracts, you have to protect your companies. You just have to. So that is the basic rules of an independent contractor. I hope that helps you. If you have any questions, just send me an email at mlodge@lodge-co.com, and I will try and help you as much as possible. I've gone through this so many times with clients and setting up relationships and independent contractor agreements for my clients that I pretty much know this forwards and backwards, because we try to protect every one of our business clients. Again, this is Mike Lodge, and I hope that each and every single one of you have a great day, and I will talk with you very, very soon.
This is brought to you by Lodge & Co., a business and tax advisory firm where your success is our goal. Call us today toll-free at 888-681-1518 or visit us at www.lodge-co.com and learn more about what we can do for you. Lodge & Co., your source for sound business and tax services.
Thank you for listening to the WBT with Michael Lodge. Join us again tomorrow as we explore more about business and taxes. Follow us on iHeartRadio and go to our podcast website at www.wbti.com. wbtpod.com and listen to all of our podcasts and read our blogs.